Okay, right. Onegaishimasu. Alrighty, perfect. Okay, just loosen a little bit on the vertical. Okay, just pressing the feet down. Just play in this case with the vertical, but the sense of the spine basically lengthening right up to the top. Just play with slightly compressing the spine and then lifting it right up to the top, coming up onto the toes. You're kind of raising everything up from the crown of the head. Trying to create space through each of the vertebrae in the spine. Just let the weight of the arms kind of drag down as you do it. Just play especially with the position of the chin as you do this. Obviously you can do like the chin coming up with it, or you can pull the chin back, draw it up. Just play with how it affects the sense of the change through the spine. Great. And then just shifting away front and back. Onto the toes, back onto the heel. And then just start to let the arms naturally kind of come forwards and come back with it. So you kind of, as you go forward, let the arms reach to the back. As you go back, let them kind of counterbalance to the front. Play especially in this one, again, that position of the chin, just explore it. Because those kind of moves, that kind of movement. Also play with a sense of lengthening through the spine. And really trying to move the body from the chest first. So, perfect. Good. A little bit to the side. And again, dropping into the feet, just play with really moving the spine side to side. Again, just start to kind of include the arms in it. Let them kind of swing down and then kind of roll out with it. So the movement's passing from the kind of ribs into the shoulder. And then let it feel that you can kind of pass it out the elbow to the hand. You've got to just play with it being kind of flexible. Okay, just loosening off the rotation. Great. And just play now with the hands a little bit out. So you've got a little bit of extension out. And think about the line from the kind of belly button to the chin. And again, just kind of let it all go together. Together. And use the kind of feeling you've got in the arms just as a kind of balance to balance both sides of the body. So you don't want to emphasize one side over the other. Try and feel that both sides of the body are going equally. Just start to balance it out. A little bit of a kind of tight circle in front of the body. Now with the opposite hand, as you go down, you're going to let what's the front arm stay in that down position. The top arm reach it up to the top. And you keep a sense of that line through the belly button to the chin. And you release it to the other side, kind of splitting the hands out. One arm sinking, one arm raising. Just let the lower body kind of relax, not too much tension in the lower body. Good. Right, and then you're going to do the same thing, just start to open the foot out so that the hand that's down, that same side is going to just open. You can keep it kind of flat so that you're in a hammy, or if you feel kind of flexible with it, start to roll it out so that you're kind of rolling the hip this way. And start to now include the lower body in the feeling of the rotation. So you're kind of winding into the lower limbs now. So you're going to kind of open out the leg. And then think about coiling that movement of the torso. Once you've got that, think about coiling into the legs. You want to feel a kind of gentle stretch through the body, so not too much tension. Just a sense of being pulled tight. Great. If you feel comfortable in that position, just play with slightly as you go into the rotation, slightly shifting the weight towards the front leg. Just be careful here of the knee, let it kind of settle into the toes. But just start to feel that you're balancing the weight of the body forward. So most of the way going into the front leg. Just use that to kind of slightly increase the tension in the forward. Just a few on each side. Perfect. Great. Just coming back into the center. We're just going to an opening and close it. So roll into the spine. Great. Just start to increase the movement of the arms again. You're going to roll as you close. You're coming into this position. Come in, open it to the top, and then roll, open the body this way. To the front, open to the back. And then nice and slowly let that movement drop towards the ground with the arms. Yeah, and then rolling up the spine fully, open out to the back, reverse it, diving down with the arms. Coil it up, open it out. Last one here, as you come down, just release towards the ground with the arms. And really release the head so you feel like a weight at the end of the spine. Let's take a few breaths here, nice and relaxed. Release the legs so that you're not stretching the hamstrings. And you can leave the hands down, or you can just wrap the arms above the head and just play with mobilizing the spine here. So spine nice and long, head nice and heavy. Just play with passing a movement all the way from the tailbone to the top of the head. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Okay, release the arms back down if you tighten them up. And drop them super slow, draw them back to the feet. All the way up the legs, curl up the spine. At the head and curl up the end of it. You go. Great. Okay, we just go a little bit for the head, so just roll in front and back. Nice and light. And feel it working the front and the back of the head, or the neck. Can also kind of reverse it, tuck the chin to the chest, and roll it out. Great. And then just dropping the chin to the chest, nice and slow circles through the back. And you can see the side. Great. Taking back the head, taking it to the shoulders, just roll the shoulders out. So you want to feel you're kind of spreading the shoulders away from each other. Focus on kind of isolating the shoulders, but obviously let the chest, hips move a little bit. Play with both ways. Try and feel that you're rolling out the shoulder blades away from each other. Great, just roll into the elbows. Just play with both ways. Play with both ways, and play with the angle of the arm as well. You go out to the side, to the front. And play with the idea. Obviously, the elbow's just able to really do that, but play with kind of passing a spiral through the forearm to the fingertips. Or on a continuous motion. That's a change in the arm. Great, working them both together. Great, dip into the wrist, shaking up to the front. Side to side. Pressing out the fingers. Kind of rolling them this way. Great, making fists. Just play with the position of the hand. Or the Shake them off a little bit. Great, go to the hips, roll them in circles. Go away. Great, back into the center, just play with kind of tucking, curling the spine. The pelvis. Might find this easier or harder if you kind of bend forward with it as well. So kind of like this position of the body. You just want to feel that you can mobilize the pelvis, tuck it, and tuck it. Great, and then the next one, play with raising one up, sinking the other. Raising, sinking. Again, play with the body. You might find this a bit easier. You can also play with loading one of the legs and kind of playing with the hip here. The key thing is just feel that you can sink one side and let the other raise out. Try and feel that you're also kind of pulling the hip from the hip. So that kind of feeling as if this part's being pulled up rather than pushing out of the foot, which you can do with this. Think about trying to create the movement from the pelvis. Good. And then once you've got that, just play with rolling the hips. You can do both ways. So you've got that raising, sinking movement, but it's more circular now. Kind of figure of eight pattern for the hip. Again, try and let the movement come from the pelvis. Good. Okay, go to the knees. Just rocking back and forward gently. Great, rolling the knees. Both ways. Great, step out a little bit and just working into back, a little bit of a bounce, both directions, not fully straight out to the back. Keep a little bit of flexion in the knee. And again, nice and carefully roll into the inside. Going from the inside out. Great. Just loosen off the feet. Rolling one way. The other. Okay, pointing the foot. And then play with this direction in the foot, so you're kind of rolling that way, that way. Great. Rolling out to the front. Loose, kind of from the knee to the toes. And then increasing it front and back, the whole hip. Right, out to the side, over the front, out to the side. Right, and then rolling the knee. Shake it out, and we change sides. The other foot up. Rolling in circles first. Working both ways. Straightening through the foot. Working side to side. Kicking out the foot. Great, swinging front and back. To the side. And rolling the knees. Big moving to the back if you can. And shake it up. Okay, bring the feet down. Just kind of pulse through the body. Drop the weight of the feet. Great, stick it into the hands at the top. Put it out to the side. Drop it down. Just settle the arms, let them drop. And just make this movement now a little bit smaller. Lengthen through the spine. Release the legs. Just get to the point where you're just going to kind of vibrate the hips, the waist. Just let the waist settle down. Okay, great. We will go to more bokken. So, okie dokie, perfect. We'll go straight into Zengo. It's kind of where we finished yesterday. So just go into nice basic form, spiral the body to the top. Nice and calm the whole body. Okay, great. So yeah, just notice with this one, the position of the head as you do this. So play with this also so that you get a real kind of clear idea that you've got this. If I go to this kind of position with the chin, where it's kind of tucked under, as you go to the rotation, I've got two options. Either I release the chin and draw up into the body, or this movement goes straight to the arms, kind of automatically because the chin's kind of loaded. This loads through the body, so I end up doing something like that, and then I basically keep the chin basically in that position, and it's straight away. It's just going to increase tension as I increase the repetitions of the movement. So just play with the position of the chin so that you feel it's released up the top, as if it's been pulled up. But the key part is the kind of chin kind of lengthening through the back. So you're not kind of punching back, but you're thinking of drawing the chin here with the aim to lengthen the neck all the time. So think about that position, and the key is how it translates into the shoulders. So if I'm in that position, the shoulder's going to kind of tighten. So think about lengthening with the aim to free the shoulders, so that shoulders should be able to pass that spiral straight away, kind of directly. Nice. Yeah, okay, now also think about the position of the head, or the angle of the head as you do this. So this is, especially when I'm kind of working on Zoom a lot, then there's a tendency I'm doing the movement here and I'm starting to kind of look over here, or the opposite, kind of doing this and that. So you end up with actually a position where the chin's actually misaligned on the body, or the head's misaligned on the body. So think about the line from the belly button again to the chin, and I want to basically maintain that. So the cut and the belly button's that same line, but just watch for something like that. So even a little small kind of kink's going to start to load the body out of the structure. So just play with keeping the head neutral along the center line of the body. Especially when it's like TV screens, things I start trying to look over it. So keep the focus really on the cut. So let the head, let the eyes also just kind of drop towards the cut. The same when you change position, just check that position. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Great, we'll take into a little bit of 𝒊𝒑𝒂𝒂𝒃, so working with 4. You just got those extra rotations now. And keep those points in mind, especially the chin. And I'm aligning the head with the cut. It's kind of perfect exercises because you're taking these 4 directions. Let the head drop towards the direction. Okay, try this as an exercise. You're basically gonna suppress the focus a little bit. So what you want to focus on, or what can tend to happen with this movement, is that the focus starts to pull the body in and out of the structure. So this one, really feel that your movement is all centered on you. So right in the middle of it, and all the cuts are coming out of this direction or out of this kind of center of the movement. So what you're gonna do something like this, you're gonna just drop the cut towards the floor. Drop it in, drop it in, drop it in. So the form stays the same, but you're focusing much more on this feeling. This feeling, this feeling. So feel all the time that the center is basically dropping into the ground. So you're gonna let the sword just drop in. Let it drop in. Let it drop in. Let it drop in. Feel all the time you're draining towards the center. That's it. Nice. This also means slightly you're going to shift the focus in where your focus is going into the hand as well. So with the sword, almost forget that the tip exists with it. So as if you've got to kind of, as if the sword stops here. So you've just got to kind of handle the sword and just put all your focus into this area. So rather than focusing on the tip, focus on this part. So you're really focusing everything towards that. And the same, the hips are going to focus down into that area. So that kind of feeling, rather than something there where I get kind of pulled out against the tip. Yeah, that's it. Okay, good. The other thing, focus now on the legs as well. So what you don't want to do, this also happens with the cut. There's a tendency for I place the legs and then the cut happens. Place the leg, then the cut happens. So you've got basically the legs static and the arms kind of pulling out. And then that's when you get these kind of movements that happen in the hip because the hip just gets pulled out of the stretch. Unless I go to tension and then with those kind of positions, which you don't really want. So focus now on do this slow, but feel that there's always movement shifting through the legs. So you're not going to kind of pause the movement of the legs. I don't want to go into this place like that, stop, finish, that, stop, finish. But get the feeling that you're drawing down into the legs all the time. So the legs are constantly like pressing, releasing, pressing, releasing, pressing, releasing, pressing, releasing. But there's always going to be movement now in the feet. And if you do this in 4 directions, it's a little bit trickier. But get the feeling that you're always kind of engaging the structure of the legs. That kind of feeling all the time. So whatever's happening in the sword is basically happening through the whole body, and especially now in the lower legs, upper legs, the legs. Yeah, that's it. Right. Nice. There we go. Nice. Yes. Exactly. Great. Okay, keep that feeling. What you want to focus on now as you do it, focus on the release through the rotation and try and get it. This is an easy movement because it's kind of this is a straight line movement. So doing a kind of straight line like I lift it, I drop it in, and then this basically leads to the posture getting pulled in and out to exaggerate that movement. So play with that position, and once you got it, play with spiral in the sword. So you spiral underneath it. So play with now that movement in the legs, and then as you release it, passes into a spiral. Release it, passes into a spiral. Release it, passes into a spiral. And again, just play with like the Zengo, and then play with, once you've got that, play with the Shiko. It's not really about the angle, it's about now this release into a spiral. Yeah, right, that's it. You feel like it's a lot of work for the core of the body to kind of hold everything in. That's basically where you want the movement to be sitting in the body. So it's always a bad sign after weapons, if your shoulders are kind of aching. Too much tension usually in the shoulders. So I'm going to really work in the center. Legs more than arms. Great, perfect. Now go back to the kind of original form where you're just finding the focus. So you want to let now each one settle, but try and find that position's not going into so much like a static rigid position and then I'm releasing it. But there's still a sense of freedom in the body. So we've got the freedom to just move. But focus now on settling the curve. That. That's it. Good. Great. So just see now that the ability to settle is going to be reflected in the sword. So it's generally an issue of timing. So really work on as you do it. You want the center to be hitting the ground, and then you want that focus to come in. But you don't want to do this now at that point, or wait and then increase it, because this is going to lead to all these kind of reverbs go through the body. So really play with the timing of the focus now. Here to the ground. Here into the ground. So just get the sense that the focus is going to come there, just at that point. There. There. But it doesn't start too early. It doesn't go too late. You're going to kind of dribble through it. Give it a try. Better. Nice. Great. We'll take this into a little bit of your quill work. So just start with the right leg forward. Yeah, and just working with the arms. So you're just going to play with kind of releasing the arms this way. So you got a slightly different movement now. That. Don't worry too much about the hips and everything at this point. The main focus here is think about the hands kind of releasing through it. Releasing. You've got that similar kind of movement happening with the body in terms of a spiral passing through. Just play nice and loosely, so not really focusing on cutting, just on mobilizing the sword. Yes, got it. Nice. Okay, so we'll just work one side, work with the right foot forward, and just going to practice now the step in and just the raising and just kind of dropping through it. So you've got this position, again, you're trying to pass a spiral through the system, and you're going to shift the weight into that front leg. You shift it, let the sword go up, you just drop into it with the body. So just playing with the right side first. You want the sword to be as light as possible, so it shouldn't feel kind of heavy in the front. Like that. Okay. And just think about this front line of the body again. So from the belly button to the chin, as you go into this, it's very easy to start to kind of twist out of it. So something like that. And also the position of the head, everything starts to go with it. So play with the idea of if you kind of pick a line through the it can be through the ground or it can be in front of you or just a point. But think about that line basically being maintained, and the hips are going to kind of open around that way. But trying to basically keep the focus forwards through that movement, and let the shoulders kind of move around the core of the body. Yeah. Great, and just work with the same idea on the left side as well. So starting with the left foot, dropping into the cup. I'm going to change it. There's a better exercise for this. So you're going to go like this. This movement, you're just going to do on the floor. So on the spot. So you're playing with basically mobilizing the body and again sinking the weight. When you feel that connection, take it into the front with it. So we'll go lightly into the focus, but play with very softly shifting the weight through, shifting the weight through, shifting the weight through. When you feel this kind of thick connection, take it into the curve. Yeah. So just play with this, just with the legs, the step forward. So just here, this position, you've got, well, there's lots of ways of moving forward. The main one people tend to do is to think about moving with the knee. So that kind of feeling. So that and then that going through with it, which basically leads to a fall through it. So play with that feeling where you kind of release the knee and then you kind of get pulled forward. And then what I want you to go towards is something where you think about the heel, back heel and the back and the hip, and think about drawing them into movement. So you're letting that connection basically spiral. So that happens, and then I shift the weight through that way. The key thing when you do this is just watch that the leg doesn't go tense, and then I basically do that over the top of it. So it becomes a kind of stiff jaw, so a stiff kind of pole. So think about the knees, basically the knees used in this case to keep flexion in the joint. So if at this point the knee fixes, then I'm going to get stuck. So just play this at it. I can move from the knees, which would be something like that. which I basically lose the balance, goes out as the sword splits. This is really important for the sword work because you're doing something with the arm. You need the base to be strongly supporting it. So just play with that sense of opening the hips out. Opening the hips out. The main thing with this is if I move from the knee, the weight shifts forward and I lose balance. So this is an ability to kind of open the joints without losing the balance, basically. So you can open it, shift the weight without really losing your balance. And you're not totally balanced because you're on one leg, but you're trying to be the best of the best balance you can. Yeah, that's it, Adrian. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Got it. Yeah, and when you feel it, just start to bring the sword into it. So the sword's now going to counter it. So if you go to the knee, the kind of moving with the knee, as I go to that depth, everything just gets pulled out with the added extra weight of the sword, and that movement of the arms just totally pulls you out. So it's almost impossible to kind of hold that in balance. So play with that idea, kind of spiraling down, shifting it, shift the weight. So it's basically just doing the cut super slow, spiraling through the legs. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Nice. That's good. Keep that idea in the legs now. We're doing it's like a 𝒂𝒂𝒿 exercise now. So the back leg in this case, you're just going to have the heel up on it. So and just get the feeling that your weight can press out of it. So that kind of feeling. So you've got a kind of springiness to it. Now, what you want to do is connect a pressure down. So in that motion, connect the pressure down into that spiral going into the joint. So think about now that kind of movement, but just work your way into it. Do it a few times. You've got that, and as if you're kind of pressing like a pedal in the floor, and then you press out of it. And again, just play with the legs, just kind of stepping out of it. So work both sides, but the back heel or the back foot's flexible. Drop the weight, drop into the movement. Yeah. So. Okay, perfect. And then just play with this with a couple of steps or 3 steps, depending on your space. Now, again, the key thing, get the back foot mobile. Yes, and then give yourself space in this one. So as you step forward, the key is let that front foot really settle, and then the ability to keep the back foot flexible. That and then step into it. So you're doing the same kind of feeling. Move, find that flexibility, move. So you're allowing yourself, it's a kind of paused 𝒂𝒂𝒿 form, but you're basically keeping the body in a flexible pattern, so you're not becoming static at all with it. So that. Okay, perfect. Just play again now with just the feet going straight into it. So you're going to start obviously from a static position, but you're going to roll into it. The key point now is as you go into it, as you adjust the back leg, that pressure is going to now straight away take you into it. So you're really landing the weight. That foot draws in, release it. Draws in, release it. Now the key sign with this that it's the connections there is that as soon as that pressure hits, the body goes. Pressure hits, body goes. So there shouldn't be too much of a delay in terms of press it and then there you go. So keep most of the weight in the front leg. Allow the back leg to mobilize you. So okay. Super. Okay, bring the sword into it now. So go back, this exercise we were doing before with the Zengo, that sense of drawing down the hips, the legs stay active through it. Keep that sense, you're basically doing it slow cut without the focus. But now, that. Give yourself space to ground the body in that front leg, back leg mobile. Yeah. That's it. Great. Okay, bring in the focus now. So the key point is that as you focus, you release it straight away. So just play the first few, just this idea of you get to the focus, release it. Yeah, so the key thing now is that this focus is basically bouncing you out. So you're going to include that now in this feeling of pressing the ground with the back leg. The focus in the hand and the impulse from the ground draws you into the next movement. This is probably easier to start with just like 2 cuts. Just playing with releasing into the second movement. Right, Bernie, I can't hear.
I notice in this movement, if I'm not tensioning up my core, so front and back, the movement doesn't go as it should be intended. So you really have this feeling that you are completely loose and like a loose ball on top of a very stable base.
Yeah.
So by tightening up this area as well, with the focus, you really have the power to continue. And otherwise, it's just something that's floating on top.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is also the good thing about the 𝒂𝒂𝒻. If you think about the belt and the 𝒂𝒂𝒻 and all those weight and that band, basically, if you do this and you feel that ball through the center, that whole area just goes like tight. So that's a really good. That's like a great use of the 𝒂𝒂𝒻. in terms of like training, like as a kind of feedback for the body. But then, like you say, if the sensor kind of look, or if the sensor's kind of no form to it, then it's just going to kind of everything goes like jelly. So and you need that kind of tension in the lower body or in the center of the body.
Yeah, I know.
Or the feeling that there's like a solid, like it's a solid mass. Yeah, and like front and back, right? The whole band.
Yeah, it's not just the back. It's the whole region that needs to solidify to get that bouncing.
Right. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, I mean, this is this idea of like the from the first 𝒂𝒐, like that you slot the cut into the hip work, that sense of dropping into the cut, and it's like if the center's not there, it goes. The sword just goes all over. So that feedback on the ground of the cut is like that's really center work. That's the work. So that's the good. Right. Oh, I'm in mistake. Okay, let's second. Just play with this as kind of you're just going to roll with the cut. So this is again, it's really what Bernie's saying about keeping the center line, but just play with loosely rolling around just the last 30 seconds, so just a play. But the key is the feet can stay mobile, so you can really play with this. The feet stay mobile, but the center's basically in place all the time. So whatever happens out in the arm is basically in control by the center. And you can play with focusing the cut, or you can play with rolling through it. This should feel like a lot of work for the center. So you don't want to make this into a kind of arm shoulder exercise. You try and get it into really the center's driving everything. Yeah. So, perfect. Good. Nice. Great. We'll work on these again through the week. We're going to look at some of these ideas in the workshop at the weekend. So this idea of the center basically being stable and everything kind of firing off it. So we will continue this. Great. 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒄𝒖𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒄 𝒊𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒄
Arigato.
Thank you.